What's up guys, this is Shyam Gopakumar and welcome to my YouTube channel. So today what I'm gonna talk about is how do you get the best out of your DSLR video camera. So before starting, let's roll the intro first. Probably new here because I just started my channel and I made only one tutorial video, and I think from the responses which I got, did a really good job. So tip number one is try to plan all your shoot at the golden hours. It's a time in a complete day where you get that really nice looking subjects, even your landscapes, everything is gonna look awesome.
During golden hours is when you get the best natural light in a day. Also, good lighting ensures quality footage with least grains or any artifacts, since we can operate on a very low ISO.
Golden hours usually happens in India, especially where I am, 6:30 to 9 or 8ish for the morning, or 4 p.m. to 5:30 till the sun goes down. So this is the time you really get good quality footage out of your camera. Speaking of golden hours, here comes tip number 2, that is always shoot according to the light.
When I am shooting on the field, especially outdoors, I will make sure that the sun rays are always falling on the subject where I am facing the camera and not the other way. So the subject will be well lit as it can be, and this not only ensures good quality footage but also a very good and well lit scene.
The sun should be in the direction behind the camera where all the lights that's coming, and you probably get a really nice angle.
And one thing to remember guys is if you are planning to shoot a silhouette or something, this tip won't apply.
So here comes tip number 3, and that is always shoot at the right shutter speed or the right shutter angle. So why the right shutter angle, if you may ask? What it does is helps you give a very cinematic feel to your movements in your footage. Like for example, the way my hand moves, it has that small blur that's added in between the frames. Always keep your shutter speed the double the amount of the frame rate which you are planning to shoot. For example, if you're shooting at 4K and 30 frames per second, the shutter speed should be around 60. If you're shooting at 120 frames per second, the shutter speed should be around 240 or 250.
So this ensures a very cinematic flow of moving objects rather than very stuttering movement of things in your frame. This is a very simple method to up the quality of the films that you make, and you should not miss this out. On a very bright scene, keeping a lower shutter speed might not be possible because the shot can get overexposed. For these kind of situations, a variable ND filter comes in handy to cut out the extra light entering your camera. That way you can stick to the correct shutter angle and get a good result like you want.
So next is tip number 4, that is
getting clips with excellent focus. I always use autofocus for an entirety of my projects all the time because that's the kind of style of run and gun filming which I do. There is no good footage without good enough focus.
Whenever I was not able to nail that right autofocus, the problem is you won't really notice that on your tiny little camera's viewfinder or the monitor. But probably when you're editing, you will come to know that, oh shit, this footage is not gonna work and it has to be thrown to the garbage.
This is probably caused by an inappropriate setting. I use a Sony DSLR and I always try to use its zone-based autofocus method. By using zone-based autofocus, you get to choose an area of the entire frame for the camera to focus rather than asking it to focus on the entire frame. This way the camera's autofocus can focus more easily and accurately, so you can get nice and sharp footage.
Here comes tip number 5, that is choosing the right bitrate and resolution for your footage.
Getting the highest quality video clip from your camera is as important as getting good focus or good lighting. It is very important to choose the highest possible bitrate or resolution whenever possible. Talking about resolution, I tend to shoot everything at 4K when I require landscape, tripod kind of shots where the scene is very wide. This gives me enough detail to play with. I would say 4K gives a big difference compared to always shooting at 1080p.
Similarly, highest bitrate ensures everything is recorded at highest quality. Some cameras by default may have a lower bitrate setting already set, so you should probably change that so that everything is captured at its full glory and detail. And tip number 6, that is always try to shoot in a flat profile. It can give you more room for color grading, adjusting contrast, brightness and all those parameters. To be exact, when you shoot in a flat profile which is low on contrast, the sensor reads out more details in shadows or highlights, which is not usually seen in a normal profile. That way there will be more dynamic range captured and thus you get more flexibility in color grading or post-processing. The footage may appear flat or bleak like this till it's color graded. And then you can see the magic. I think most of the new cameras has these log profiles built in. For Sony it's S-Log, for Fujifilm it's F-Log, or Canon is C-Log, whatever. If you don't have a profile like a log or Cine 4 in your camera, you could always try to reduce contrast, brightness and saturation in your camera settings. That way you can get a flatter profile. Tip number 7 is always use the least ISO that's possible. ISO is an artificial method of adding more light to your footage digitally. Cranking up the ISO will actually help in a low light situation to get the right exposure, but it is at the expense of image quality. The problem is it can introduce a lot of grains, especially during low light situations. You could probably use prime lenses like 1.8, which I'm using right now. Currently I'm shooting at around ISO 200, which can give very less grains for your footage. So you should probably choose the least amount of ISO as possible. So guys, these are all the things that I keep in mind while I'm making my films, and I hope all these tips can help you grow as a filmmaker, like to get the best out of your camera and make really good quality content for YouTube or short films or whatever. So I'll see you in the next video. If you like the video, please, I request you to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell icon right next to it, so you'll get notified whenever I post a new video. So till then, bye bye, peace. By the way, wish you a very happy new year guys, and make some really good films. Okay, see you, bye.